Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the channel Biblical Chronicles. If you are new here, kindly subscribe the channel. You won't believe what the apocalypse of Adam reveals about God. The world had long since turned to dust and silence. Cities crumbled into ruins, their once proud spires now skeletal remains against an angry, crimson sky. The survivors, scattered like shadows across the wastelands, spoke in hushed tones of an ancient text of the apocalypse of Adam. No one knew where it had first been found, but the legend spread like wildfire, a scroll hidden in the depths of an underground chamber, untouched for millennia. Unlike other apocalyptic prophecies, this one wasn't about the end, it was about the beginning. And it contained the truth about God. The scholar and the seeker Nathaniel Cross, a historian who had spent his life studying forbidden texts, had spent years tracking rumors of the manuscript. His last lead pointed him to an abandoned monastery in what was once Egypt. With the sun burning overhead, Nathaniel and his guide, Layla, descended into the hidden crypt. Dust swirled as they pried open the stone sarcophagus, revealing a bundle of aged parchment wrapped in black silk. The apocalypse of Adam. Layla, a skeptic by nature, scoffed. And what is this supposed to tell us? That God planned all of this? She gestured to the ruined world outside. Nathaniel's hands trembled as he unrolled the manuscript, his eyes scanning the words written in a dialect long thought lost to time. Then his blood ran cold. A truth too dangerous to know. The text spoke not of a vengeful God, nor a merciful one, but of something else entirely. It told the story of Adam, the first man, not as a being created by God, but as one who had been deceived by lesser beings masquerading as divine. The real God, the Creator, had been hidden from mankind by an impostor. The one we have worshipped, Nathaniel whispered, is a liar, a prison warden, not a father. Layla shook her head. That's impossible. But the text went on. It described how Adam was shown a vision before his death, an awakening, revealing that his descendants would one day rediscover the truth, that the world itself was a prison, a cage built to keep humanity from ever reaching its true potential. And the worst part? The apocalypse wasn't the end, it was the escape, the revelation and the choice. Nathaniel looked up at Layla, his voice barely a whisper. If this is true, then everything we've ever known, every scripture, every faith was a lie. And if the world is in ruins now, a broken bar, maybe it means the cage is finally breaking. Layla took a step back. You're saying this apocalypse was meant to happen? Not an apocalypse, Nathaniel corrected. A liberation. Suddenly, the ground trembled. A sound, like ancient stone grinding against itself, echoed through the crypt. Nathaniel and Layla turned toward the entrance, where a shaft of golden light cut through the darkness. And in that light, something moved, a being of fire and shadow, its eyes burning with knowledge as old as the stars. The Watchers, Nathaniel breathed. They knew we'd find the truth. Layla reached for her weapon, but Nathaniel held up a hand. No, he said. If this is true, then we've been fighting on the wrong side this whole time. The entity extended its hand, offering a choice: to step into the unknown and reclaim their place in the cosmos, or to remain in the ruins of the old world, bound to the lies of false gods. Nathaniel took a deep breath and stepped forward. The lost manuscript. Nathaniel Cross had spent years chasing whispers, traveling from crumbling libraries and forgotten cities to the hidden archives of secretive societies. Every clue, every fragment of information, pointed to the existence of an ancient text that had been lost to time. The apocalypse of Adam. It was said to contain a revelation so profound that those who had glimpsed its words were never the same again. The final lead had brought him to the deserted monastery of St. Theophilus in the Egyptian wastelands. The once grand structure, now reduced to little more than a skeleton of stone, bore the scars of war and time. Few had dared enter its ruins, deterred by the superstitions of the locals, who spoke of voices whispering from the walls and shadows that moved when no one was watching. Nathaniel was not alone. His guide, Layla, a skeptic and a survivor of the post-apocalyptic world, walked beside him, her steps cautious, her grip tight on the pistol strapped to her thigh. "You're sure this is it?" she asked, her voice echoing through the hollowed remains of the cathedral-like chamber. Nathaniel nodded. "Every record points here. If the manuscript still exists, it's buried beneath this place." Hours of excavation led them to a hidden chamber beneath the monastery. They uncovered a sealed stone sarcophagus, unmarked except for a single ancient symbol, a serpent eating its own tail, the Ouroboros. With careful hands, they pried the lid open. Instead of a body, inside lay a bundle wrapped in black silk. Nathaniel's breath caught as he reached inside and lifted the fragile, time-worn parchment. The script was unlike anything he had seen before, ancient, yet preserved almost too well for something supposedly thousands of years old. "This is it," he whispered. Layla peered over his shoulder. "What does it say?" Nathaniel's eyes moved rapidly over the first few lines, and the more he read, the colder he felt. The words did not speak of prophecy or divine salvation. Instead, they told a different story, one that challenged everything humanity had ever believed. His hands trembled. If what he was reading was true, then God was not who they thought he was, and the world was never meant to be this way. The great deception. Nathaniel's hands trembled as he read. The words on the ancient manuscript burned into his mind. Everything he had ever believed was a lie. Adam had not been created by a loving God. He had been trapped by an impostor. The text revealed a hidden history, a history buried for thousands of years. The true creator had been sealed away. In his place, a false god had taken control, a lesser being, a deceiver. This impostor fashioned the world as a prison, a grand illusion, a place where humanity would remain ignorant, weak, and obedient. Nathaniel's breath came in short gasps. The scriptures had it all wrong. The angels, not messengers of divine will. They were the jailers of mankind. The Garden of Eden, not paradise. A cage. The fall of man, not a scene but an escape attempt. Layla stepped back, her face pale. "This can't be real," she muttered. Nathaniel looked up at her. "It explains everything. The suffering, the endless wars, the chaos." He swallowed hard. "We were never meant to live like this." The deception ran deep. Humanity had been taught to worship its captor, to believe in rules designed to keep them from questioning. Every prophet, every miracle, every divine signal part of the illusion. But the manuscript revealed something more. A prophecy hidden from the world. Adam had seen the truth before he died. He knew that, one day, his descendants would uncover the lie. They would find the knowledge that had been stolen from them. And when they did, the world would begin to break apart. Layla's voice shook. "So broken bar this apocalypse." "It's not punishment." Nathaniel exhaled slowly. "No," he said. "It's a jailbreak." They had thought the world was ending, but in reality, the prison was collapsing. The walls of deception were crumbling. The false god's control was slipping. And now, the watchers of the ancient enforcers of the false god's rule would come to silence them. Nathaniel looked at the manuscript one last time. The final words sent a chill down his spine. "When the truth is known, the cage will open, and he will return." The apocalypse as liberation. Nathaniel had always feared the end of the world. Everyone did. The story spoke of fire, death, and judgment, a punishment for humanity's sins. But the manuscript told a different story. The apocalypse wasn't destruction, it was freedom. The world had been built as a prison, not just of stone and land, but of the mind and soul, a cage where humans lived and died, never knowing what lay beyond. The false god had designed it that way, to keep them small, to keep them blind. But the prison was failing. The wars, the disasters, the chaos, they weren't signs of doom. They were signs of a collapse. The system was breaking. The false god's hold was weakening. Layla paced, her hand shaking. "So, everything we've been taught at every holy book, every prophecy, it was all to keep us from seeing this?" Nathaniel nodded. "The apocalypse isn't about ending the world. It's about opening the door." The manuscript spoke of those who had escaped before, rare souls who had seen through the illusion. Some called them prophets, some called them madmen. They had tried to warn others, but the watchers had erased their words. Now, it was happening again. But this time, it was different. This time, the prison was falling apart too fast to be repaired. Nathaniel turned the page and found a chilling passage. It described what would come next. The watchers would try to restore order. They would bring fire and fear. They would make people beg to be controlled again. But those who understood the truth would have a choice: to step beyond the ruins, to walk into the unknown, to meet the true creator. Layla clenched her fists. "And if we refuse?" Nathaniel swallowed hard. "Then we stay here, broken bar, and rebuild the cage." The ground trembled beneath them, a deep, echoing sound filled the crypt. Something ancient was waking. Layla looked at Nathaniel. What do we do? He took a slow breath. We stop fearing the end. He met her gaze. And we start preparing for the beginning, the final choice. The ground shook. Dust rained from the ancient ceiling. A low, grinding noise echoed through the crypt. Something was coming. Nathaniel gripped the manuscript tightly. Layla raised her weapon, her breath uneven. Shadows twisted at the edge of the chamber. They were no longer alone. A figure emerged from the darkness. Tall, silent, eyes like burning stars. It wasn't human. It wasn't even alive in the way they understood. A watcher. Nathaniel had read about them in the manuscript. The jailers of humanity, the enforcers of the false god's rule. They had come to stop the truth from spreading. You have read what was forbidden, a voice rumbled. It wasn't spoken aloud. It echoed inside their minds. Cold, commanding, ancient. Layla tightened her grip on her pistol. What do you want? The watcher took a step forward. To offer you a choice. Nathaniel exhaled shakily. He already knew what was coming. The manuscript had warned of this moment. Submit. The watcher said. Return to the illusion. Forget what you have read. Live in the world as it was designed. Layla's eyes narrowed. And if we refuse? The chamber rumbled. More shadows moved. There were others, watching, waiting. Nathaniel took a deep breath. He understood now. The apocalypse wasn't about destruction. It was a door that only a few would dare walk through. You don't want us to die, he said slowly. You want us to stay. To rebuild the lie. The watcher's burning eyes flickered. You do not understand what awaits beyond. Nathaniel stepped forward. But I choose to find out. Silence. Then, the watcher extended a hand. The air around it shimmered, as if reality itself was peeling away. Beyond the veil, something else awaited. A second path remained. Stay. Forget. Return to ignorance. Layla glanced at Nathaniel. Fear flashed in her eyes, but also something else. Hope. Nathaniel took her hand. Together, they stepped toward the unknown. The watchers did not stop them. As they crossed the threshold, the world behind them began to fade. And for the first time in history, two humans left the cage behind. The truth beyond the cage. The world had never been real. It had only been a shadow, a prison built on lies. Nathaniel and Layla had a choice: either comfort in ignorance or freedom in the unknown. They chose freedom. Most would never take that step. Fear kept them bound. Blind faith kept them obedient. But the truth does not vanish. It waits for those brave enough to seek it. The apocalypse was not the end. It was the beginning. Humanity was never meant to kneel, never meant to be small. The real God had not abandoned them. He had been waiting. And now, for the first time in history, someone was coming to find him.